Perfect. So in order for us to go through the primary ways in which we attempt to access false power, we have to have a little bit of an understanding for a patriarchal framework and what that really means, like what patriarchy is and what patriarchy isn't. So patriarchy, the way that I understand it and teach it, is a system which values and prioritizes masculine energy over feminine energy. Okay. So everything here on the left side, right, is considered masculine. Everything on the right side is considered feminine. And these words are like the Western labels that we have for this, but these are energies that we're talking about. These are ancient Eastern lineages and traditions, have different words and phrases, right? Like yin and yang are what we would call this in a more Eastern tradition, right? It's like these are ancient archetypal energies that everybody possesses, right? So within a patriarchal system, we do not trust or value or see the power in feminine energy. And as a result, right, there's all these different symptoms and byproducts of existing within a patriarchal system. But one of the main ones is that we will find ourselves in a systemic power dynamic, right, where beings and individuals who have dominant masculine energy are considered to be more valuable and powerful and more intelligent. And you can see this, you know, in our government very, very easily. That's one of the most readily accessible places, right? But you know, that's just like one symptom and byproduct. There's a lot of symptoms and byproducts of existing within a patriarchal system. One of the biggest ones, and what I'm working with my ladies on, right, is looking at all the ways in which feminine essenced or feminine identifying beings have had to adopt and really over masculinize themselves to exist within a patriarchal system. Because if the blueprint for power, value, and worth is that which is masculine, then I will betray my own feminine essence and adopt more masculine characteristics and qualities and traits and trust that more within myself and abandon my feminine power. So if you look at this, right, like, and this is a totally incomplete list, but this is the list that I typically work with just to give us a framework, again, a map, a blueprint. We tend to value doing more than being. Like what we do is more important than just existing. Like what you have to show for yourself matters more than you just being who you are. We value that which is external and seen and certain and visible over what is internal, inward, less known, right? We value thinking and reasoning and problem solving over feeling and sensing and creativity, logic over intuition, individual over collective. So this is hugely problematic because it creates massive imbalance in individuals. So the other thing, when people so this is the other thing, I have a lot of issues with a lot of the normal kind of everyday conversations people have about patriarchy, because patriarchy, when people talk about like smashing the patriarchy, right, there's an undercurrent in that of being like, oh yeah, men are the enemy. Like men are bad. Men are problematic, right? And I'm not here to say that men, a lot of men don't have major issues, but I want you to look at it through this lens of understanding that the men in our culture are also products of a patriarchal system. So if I, as a feminine essence being, don't have adequate access to my knowing, intuition, or emotional range, then how do you think men are doing? Right? Like, are men allowed to feel? Do we think of men as like, do we give them a lot of permission to like connect and feel? Right? The answer is no, we don't. So the issue is not men versus women. The issue is not men are in power and that's inherently like just bad because they're men. The issue is that we have a whole entire global population. I shouldn't say totally global because, well, at this point, I don't know if there are any true matriarchal societies. That would be something that I need to research. Like, please don't take my word on that. But the vast majority of dominant cultures and societies are patriarchal in nature, right? So everyone doesn't have as much access or ownership over their feminine power, feminine energy, feminine essence. It's just like absent. And so things end up being really kind of screwy and lopsided for a number of reasons, right? Now, because, right, we live in a time where inclusivity is something that's really important. There's a lot of conversations happening around the gender binary and men and women and everyone, like in between, all different gender identifications. If the language masculine and feminine is like really scratchy for you, like it's just like I have a really hard time identifying with that language, like you're welcome to call it whatever you want to call it, right? I say, like, you can call it zig and zag energy. Like, you can call it pickles and popcorn energy. You can call it whatever you want. The energy itself isn't inherently gendered, but we typically see that individuals who, again, identify more with feminine energy would classify or call themselves women. Individuals who identify or feel more dominantly linked to masculine energy would be labeled men. But there is this whole beautiful range. So, like, please don't mistake any of this for me putting my like flag in the ground of like, oh, the gender binary, because like I really don't give a fuck about any of that. So I use the terms masculine and feminine because that's how I learned all of this. That's what's most familiar to me. You're also free to call it whatever, is more comfortable for you.